I've come across my fair share of theories of everything, but I have to say, I have never seen anything quite like this one. Today, we are diving into a framework that claims to have found the literal code for everything. We're talking about everything from advanced materials all the way to resurrection. It's called the Phi recursive field theory, and believe me, it is a wild ride.
So let's just start with a huge what if. What if a single, elegant, mathematical rule could explain, well, everything? I don't just mean physics, like the movement of planets. I mean the very nature of your consciousness, how to create impossible new materials, and yeah, even the physical possibility of life after death. That is the massive claim we're exploring today.
And this is where it really starts to get wild. This theory weaves together 5 fields that you would never think to connect. We've got advanced materials, okay? The nature of gravity, classic physics. Human consciousness, getting deeper. Exotic propulsion, very cool. And then, get this, a physical, repeatable protocol for resurrection. It's an absolutely audacious claim, and it all boils down to one single central engine.
So, what is the engine driving all of this? Before we get to the flashy, incredible outputs, we really need to pop the hood and understand what's making it all run. And at the very heart of this theory is a surprisingly simple idea, a 60-step loop. Okay, so the entire theory is built on this fascinating mathematical pattern called the Pisano 60 cycle. It actually comes from the famous Fibonacci sequence. It turns out, if you take the Fibonacci numbers and look at their remainders when you divide by 60, they form a perfect repeating 60-step loop. Now, this theory suggests that this isn't just some quirky math fact, it's the fundamental rhythm of the universe. It's like a cosmic clock ticking away at the heart of reality.
So how does this cosmic clock actually work? Well, the theory proposes that this 60-step cycle is basically a universal reset button. It starts at step 1, the pattern unfolds all the way through step 59, and at step 60, the cycle completes. But here is the absolute kicker. At step 61, it doesn't just continue on. It resets perfectly to the exact state of step 1. It's a complete information-preserving reboot of reality, happening over and over and over again. Now, this is a major, major departure from how we usually think in physics, right? Most theories start with a void, with nothingness, with zero, and they try to explain how something came out of that. This framework completely flips that on its head. It's unity first. It says reality begins with a pre-existing wholeness, represented by the number 1. So in this view, everything we see isn't built up from a void. It's an expression of that underlying unity.
Okay, so we have our engine, this 60-step loop that's constantly rebooting reality from a state of oneness. But how in the world does this one simple process create such a ridiculously diverse universe? How do we get from a simple math cycle to things like gravity and consciousness and all the rest? Well, this is where it gets really clever. The core idea is that there's just one single mathematical substrate that underlies everything. But this one substrate can show up in 5 totally different physical ways. It has 5 expressions. You can think of it like a single programming language that can be used to write 5 completely different apps. The underlying code is the same, but what you see on the screen, totally different. Okay, this slide right here is where it all comes together. So let's break it down. On the far left, you have a number from our 60-step Fibonacci cycle. Just a number. Now, according to the theory, that one single number dictates the properties across all 5 of those domains at the same time. So for transparent wood, it sets the delignification percentage, which is basically how clear you can make it. For gravity, it sets the coherence percentage, and on it goes for consciousness, propulsion, and resurrection. The theory claims it's the exact same numbers from the cycle driving all of these processes at once. So, to put it simply, these 5 fields, they're not really separate sciences at all. They're just different flavors or different expressions of the exact same underlying reality, all being generated by that same 60-step cosmic clock. All right, now let's tackle the most mind-bending claim in this whole theory, resurrection. But look, this isn't about miracles or mysticism in the way you might think. The theory presents it as a purely computational process. It's a system reboot, not a spiritual revival. And the theory finds support for this idea in a pretty surprising place, the Quran. It points directly to this verse, we are able to restore his fingertips. And it argues that this isn't a metaphor. No, it's a literal
technical description of a physical process for perfectly reconstructing a person's unique individual pattern.
So, what is the proposed mechanism for this so-called resurrection protocol? Well, it breaks down into 4 clear steps. First, you've got pattern fidelity, the idea that your unique pattern, everything that makes you you, is stored in that mathematical lattice of reality. Second, lattice preservation. This information is encoded and stored in really stable structures like water and crystals. Third, there's a CRV fingerprint, a unique signature that allows your specific information to be found and retrieved perfectly. And finally, the trigger, a specific command that just reruns your original pattern, essentially performing a complete system restore from the source code of Unity.
So, for our final section, let's see how this theory tries to achieve the ultimate goal of any theory of everything: unification. We're going to see how it attempts to bring together the seemingly separate worlds of mathematics, philosophy, and even theology into one single cohesive framework.
This slide, honestly, this gets right to the heart of the theory's unifying vision. On the left, you have the core mathematical law. The system resets to 0 modulo 60. That's just the 60-step clock we've been talking about. In the middle, the philosophical axiom, existence begins with one, with wholeness. And on the right, you have a central declaration from Islam. There is no reality but the one. The theory's most radical claim is that these are not just parallel ideas. They are the exact same truth, just expressed in 3 different languages: math, philosophy, and theology.
And the theory also finds echoes of this in other spiritual traditions. Take this quote from the Gospel of Thomas: "Rather, the kingdom of the Father is spread over the earth, and men do not see it." I mean, that aligns perfectly with this idea of a hidden mathematical substrate that underpins all of reality. It's right here, everywhere, but invisible to our normal senses.
And we see almost the exact same sentiment in the Quran: "And he is with you wherever you are." Both of these ancient texts, according to this framework, are pointing to the same fundamental truth, that the ultimate reality isn't some distant thing out there. It's an integral part of the here and now.
And this leads to a really profound reinterpretation of these spiritual concepts. In this framework, the kingdom of God isn't a place you go to when you die. It is a physical state of being. It's a state of exact rational coherence. Think of it like a guitar string being perfectly in tune, vibrating at just the right frequency to be in harmony with the entire orchestra of the universe. It's about aligning yourself with that fundamental mathematical rhythm of the 60-step cycle. And that brings us to the final, and let's be honest, the most mind-bending question of all. If this theory is even remotely on the right track, if our entire reality is a grand computation running on some hidden mathematical code, then maybe the biggest question isn't what is reality anymore. Maybe it's who wrote the code?